If you're up early, so are we. Entertaining talk radio.
Winning.
Hear us on 1260 AM and 96.1 FM.
And welcome back to Beyond the Curve, providing strategic insights on international business and international law. I'm Jeffrey O'Brien alongside Dr. Adriana Sanford. Let's talk about money laundering. So money laundering operations, especially large-scale operations, are an international phenomenon. They're of enormous reach and obviously a problem of global concern.
They are, Jeffrey. And the problem is they are the range, the methods of moving money across international borders continues to increase. It's multiplied. And the risk for banks has become of great concern. And it jeopardizes the economic stability of countries. It erodes the integrity of all of these financial institutions. We need to find ways of cutting down on this. And multinationals especially are starting now to take a closer look at what they can do.
Well, there's some patterns globally in combating counterfeiting and piracy, money laundering, tax evasion. Every market is different and requires a tailored communication strategy.
They do. And you really need to work with the governments and understand the laws and understand each geographic location has different challenges. So you can't go to one country and assume that what you are using there will work somewhere else because the money laundering problems may be different. So what I typically suggest to companies is come up with a meaningful and robust program, compliance program, then tailor it to each country, talk to the local council and the government officials to really make sure your program is working. There are different steps that you can take. Companies will adopt a anti-money laundering compliance program, but adopting a program is the first step. You really need to then monitor the compliance. Make sure your employees are familiar with what the Bank Secrecy Act in the United States says and the USA Patriot Act says. Make sure everybody understands this. A lot of times companies don't take the extra step of really going and explaining these laws. Another point, which is very important, is you want to go ahead and test your program. Test it by audit and review the results of the audit. Sometimes people will test it and say, hey, it's working, and figure out if everything is on track and everything is making sense. You need to train your employees, and you need to implement policies and procedures that will identify and report anything that looks abnormal, and designate one of your employees or a couple employees to be responsible for filing the reports. You need to really follow up and take it seriously if you want a meaningful and robust program.
Well, one of the big ways to prevent money laundering is know your customer.
Correct.
And also always insist on acceptable forms of payment.
Yes, that is the core. But what does that mean? You need to, for each company, it's going to be different. Know your customer. Look at unusual customer order volumes, or it may mean following up and making sure that the names and addresses are actually legitimate and not a sham. It may mean looking at the hours that the company is conducting their business or the locations. Is it a duty-free trade zone? Are they supposed to be there? All these things, it depends on the industry, it depends on the location as to what will trigger knowing your customer. And the same thing with acceptable methods of payment. For some, it may mean, the use of third-party checks. This is something that should trigger a red flag. Sometimes
the companies get so desperate for the order that they do sort of kind of turn the other way a little bit when they realize there might be something hinky going on. There's a desperation to get the income and the money and to put the order out, but then you could be walking right into a money laundering trap.
Right, and this is why it's so important to explain to your employees and really train them as to what's out there and the dangers of what's out there and how that can affect your company. They're trying to meet their bottom line. And given today the economy the way it is, before all of this corruption started surfacing, a lot of companies were cutting their compliance programs and telling their executives that they needed to meet their numbers, and the executives were kind of shortcutting a little bit and really not asking the right questions, or in some cases the customer was actually involved in unlawful activities, and they said, well, as long as it's not occurring here, they really didn't know whether it was or wasn't occurring because they didn't have the expertise to know that. So looking the other way can really cause problems.
All right, we got to know what to look for. So how about this? Fill me in on the different stages or phases of money laundering. How does it work?
Sure. There are 3 different stages of money laundering, and they differ among the regions. The first, if we want to get to the basics, the placement stage. That's where you deposit small amounts of cash into several different accounts. You then have what's called the layering stage. That's when the funds are actually invested through certain investment vehicles into different jurisdictions. And this is a way of kind of fanning it out so they're not caught. The last stage, if they make it past that, what the launderers will do is they will try to take those proceeds, those criminal proceeds, and re-enter them into a legitimate business. It can be luxury goods, it can be investing in real estate, business ventures, and there are certain countries in which it's easier to do that. Either the government is looking the other way or the laws are not strong enough to really handle this. And that's why it's important that the companies and that the employees know what they're looking for as well.
Now, I know what a mule is in the world of drugs and bad stuff. You see it out in the movies. That girl's a drug mule. Well, what is a mule in the world of money laundering?
The mules. If we're talking about the money mules, this is another way in which launderers use the public to actually get their proceeds across borders and whatnot. What you will see is you will see a popular employment site, and with maybe offers that say work at home, stay-at-home moms, job offers that look very, very enticing. And the positions of employment, the types of positions available will be financial manager or payment processor. And so the stay-at-home mom or the individual that is unemployed will look at this and say, wow, I have the opportunity to make a lot of money and a great position. I'm a financial manager. Well, you'll start to realize quickly that something's going wrong when your employer tells you to open a bank account.
No major company is going to have you use your personal bank account to handle payments and process funds for them.
Yes, that's a red flag, you guys. So if this happens, heads up, you better contact the authorities. What will happen is they will ask you to open your own bank account, and they will start to transfer monies. They'll transfer funds into your account, and within a few days or weeks, they start to withdraw that money.
So part of it is they also get control of your account as well, that you open up, that they have the ability to get in and move stuff themselves without your even being involved.
Right. They're just basically using your name, your identity to camouflage their operations.
Right.
And what they'll do is they'll subsequently retransfer that money into other accounts in foreign countries. So you're basically the money mule. You're the one that is holding on to this and allowing them to camouflage, and you're liable.
And at the end of it, that's your name attached to it, nobody else's.
Right. And a lot of times the unsuspecting victims are surprised to learn that they've been part of a money laundering scheme. So it's out there, and with this economy and the amount of unemployment, it's on the rise.
Well, I hear money mule, I think a piñata with some dollar bills in it, but I guess that's not what that is. This is something you got to very much look out for. We've got to take a break. When we come back, we are going to talk to you now about tax evasion. More of Beyond the Curve on the way, providing strategic insights on international business and international law. I'm Jeffrey O'Brien. She's Dr. Adriana Sanford, and we'll be back after this.
You're listening to NBC 1260.